Just back from IT Nation Secure 2025 and right outside of Orlando. It was a great event. Many vendors, many MSPs, just focused on security. The keynote kicked off and there was 4 people up on stage, a panel, and they were from different companies, not just ConnectWise. ConnectWise is trying to make this community, not just what they offer, but with others as well. But the vendor hall was full. There was lots of great vendors. I was able to have 16 conversations with great guests right there at the resort. I had great guests, great guests. First started with Gene Templin, MSP Sales Reimagined. Gene's in the Pitch It program, the ConnectWise, it's not new, but new for this year, incubator program. Jamie Williams, my friend from a long time ago, marketing before sales. MSPs, are you listening? Oh, Ricardo from Lumu. Yes, my fellow aviator. I've known Ricardo for a couple of years now, and great conversation. Ricardo. Oh, Rayanne, of course, Rayanne from ABC. The name of the episode is From Cables to Closing. Fascinating backstory to Rayanne and what she does now, also in the Pitch It program. Mike Estep from Black Point Cyber. Great story from MSP to vendor now. Black Point's a great security company, and it was a great conversation with Mike. Mark Balanov, first time I met Mark, really great conversation. Really enjoyed it. Talking about cyber lessons. David Chernitsky, fascinating background from Russia to Israel to Canada to what he knows about the martial arts and everything he learned from the best people in cybersecurity there in Israel. Great conversation. David, Matt Holland, first time I met Matt, great conversation from Spy Tech to MSP Simplicity. Tanner Cookson, fascinating from great company. MSPs getting paid quickly. We talked about rowing, riding, and revenue. Tim Weber, cybersecurity firm now. He's a volunteer firefighter in Connecticut, my home state. Joel Cahill, great conversation with Joel. I've known Joel for quite a while now. First time we ever sat and talked like this. The episode's Cold Plunges, Hot Takes, and Cyber Strategy. But great conversation with Joel. Paul Lupo from Bitdefender. Paul's been around for quite a while, and he has great stories and great insight on the great company that Bitdefender is. David Rasapor from ConnectWise, new CPO. Wonderful insights from David, his background in Iran, and David is just a true engineer. Ozzy Saeed from Compliance, he actually helped write the specs to CMMC. Fascinating conversation with Ozzy and the saltwater fish tanks as well, one of his great hobbies. Sarvash Rao, of course, I've known Sarvash for a couple of months now, really focusing on MSPs, helping those SMBs with his with the security platform. And of course, ended with Matthew Benazari. Great conversation about, started with climbing. He's a great climber, about cyber fires and MSP fortitude there at Arete, and great conversation. Thanks all for being part of this, and thanks everyone for listening and watching.
Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Found myself at 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. I took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People ask me, how'd you do it? What's the secret? I need to lose weight. How'd you do it? How did I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others.
What is it about aviation? Why do you like it?
I was traveling so much. Are you recording already? I was, since I was like 16, I was traveling a lot, and I always like to learn how things work, right? And by doing that, I got into the aviation. So I decided to take classes of aviation, and it ended up connecting. That was far away into the evolution of my career, but it ended up, connecting a lot of stuff that I do, right? I at some point connected the proficiency that you required when you are a private, when you're a pilot.
Yes.
To operate in cybersecurity. And in fact, Joe, that's why the vision of the company is helping organizations of all sizes and verticals to operate cybersecurity proficiently. Proficiently is a word in which I believe a lot. Proficiency. I tell you a story. When I was taking my flight classes, my flight instructor, he often told me, Ricardo, you have to be proficient at landing. You're a private pilot too, right? So you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So
most accidents happen
because of lack of proficiency, right? Yeah. He mentioned, and proficiency is not a word. I'm a Latino, right? So I speak Spanish. It's my primary language, and it's not a word that we use often.
Interesting.
In Spanish. So I asked him, hey, John, what do you mean by proficiency? And he said, Ricardo, if you are not, proficiency means that you have to do something 100% of the time correctly. If you don't do it, if you just 1% is incorrect in aviation, you're gonna get yourself killed, right? And then I connected that with cybersecurity immediately because if we become proficient in cybersecurity, it means that you can defend your company 100% of the time. He even went a step ahead and he said, would you get it? Let's say that you are in the airport, right? And you're waiting your flight to Washington, whatever. And then at the gate, it says that pilot can land 99.5% of the time. Would you board that plane? You have to be proficient. Yes. It has to be 100% of the time, right? Yes. That's the story with aviation.
Yeah, your takeoffs has to equal your landings
absolutely.
In your book. Yeah.
If they don't,
no, it will be there. And the great thing about pilot too, I love, is checklists.
Yeah.
It's very, you got to go through these certain steps all the time.
You have ways. I mean, it also creates ways to compensate for errors, right? Because we as human, we're prone to make mistakes. And then I think the good thing about aviation is it also translates to cybersecurity. It's how we compensate for the problems, and we do that by doing checklists, run books, training, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, you were telling me yesterday that you have to keep training to be a pilot. It's got to be the same thing in cybersecurity. Because I let my pilot license go because I think 3 months you got to take off 4 takeoff and landings. I forget what the rule is, but you have to stay on it. And if you slow down on it, the consequences could be dire.
Oh, absolutely.
Terrible.
Now planes are incredible machines, right?
Yes.
I go fascinated with how every plane has been designed to take off at a specific ground speed, right? When you are in the ground, your job is to take that plane to that speed, and it will take off. Right now, you have to maneuver the plane in the air, but it's just a fascinating machine.
It is.
I had the pleasure to invite Jeff Skyle. Jeff Skyle was the first officer of the Miracle of the Hudson.
Whoa.
To one of the events at Lumu.
Wow.
And he was sharing with us all the details about that, water landing that, happens, 13 years ago. It was really, really amazing.
Multiple bird strikes. One is rare enough, but to take out both engines.
Yeah. Crazy. And everything that happened on those 280 seconds, he mentioned, it's incredible that my reputation as a pilot at some point I could have done 36 years of takeoff and landing, but my reputation as a pilot gets judged on those 280 seconds. Wow. From the bird strike to the water crash, wow. To the water landing.
Yes.
And it's just amazing the information that he provided to us. It's all recorded, so I'll share the recording with you.
Is that right? Yeah, that must have been great. Yeah. Nobody died.
Nobody. It's an awesome. It's a very inspirational story.
It is.
And then we did with him like a parallel between what it takes to be proficient in aviation and what it takes to be proficient in cybersecurity, and which is one of the things that we like to do for companies of all sizes, like I mentioned before.
How did you get introduced into cybersecurity?
That's a very interesting story. It's it was probably year 1999. I study electronic engineer. However, to build stuff, you had to buy stuff, right? And I didn't have at the time the ability to build hardware, so my passion quickly moved into software. Why? Because in software, with your hands, a computer, an internet connection, and your mind, you can build whatever. Right. And then I started, getting into different types of projects. One of those projects back in the time was to make sure that the ATM machines, those machines where you get money,
Yes.
Bills. I don't have any today.
It's different now.
But those devices were able to speak TCP/IP. And TCP/IP, Joe, is the protocol on top of which internet has been built, right? While building that driver, and these were banks, right, putting these ATM machines to speak over TCP/IP, by learning the language, the protocol, I quickly realized that if banks were going to put transactions over inherently insecure protocol,
Right.
bad things were going to happen.
Interesting.
And that's how my passion into cybersecurity started. I started, building technologies to help banks to defeat the fraudsters. When now the banks were into mobile banking and internet banking, and in fact, my first company was in cybersecurity, but doing exactly that, doing online fraud prevention. It's a fascinating story to me because, like I mentioned, I'm Latino. I consider myself an underdog in cybersecurity.
Yeah, you said that.
There are not many entrepreneurs in cybersecurity that were born south of Mexico, right? For whatever reason, right? So when you're an entrepreneur trying to build a global business from Colombia, like it was in my case, you often don't have the ability to get access to venture capital. There is when a company gets born in the UK or in Israel, there is like instant credibility.
Right.
There is instant. People become instant skeptical of companies built in Latin America. So you had to demonstrate the value even more, right? So I ended up, scaling that business from 2007 to 2017 into a $40 million business in ARR. Sold the business in 2017 in a combined transaction of $2.8 billion.
Wow.
And that started to create instant credibility in the investment market. Ricardo, even though he was Latino, he was able to deliver. He was able to create value, to create software. And awesome. I'm passionate about that concept. World-class software can be created regardless of geography, right? An entrepreneur from Italy or from Madrid, we just made an acquisition of a company in Madrid, or in Sao Paulo or in Colombia, like is my case, can build state-of-the-art software. And stories like Easy Solution, who was my previous company, or Lumu, who is this company, are becoming an equalizer on the cybersecurity landscape. And now I'm happy to see, which is one of the other things that passionates me a lot, is to how we help other entrepreneurs that are coming from these different regions that are not necessarily regions rich in innovation in cybersecurity, to create enterprises and businesses of consequence in cybersecurity. I take a lot of my time to mentor, invest, and advise companies that are navigating some of the steps that I had to navigate when I didn't have the resources or the access to the investment community as I fortunately have now, right?
But Ricardo, Colombia's come a long way. There's a lot of outsourcing there now, and of course, I can't help to think of Valderrama and Asprilla, these great soccer players that were there. But there's definitely a lot of help desk happening there.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
A lot of outsourcing, yeah.
Like I grew up in one of the most dangerous stages of the country, but the country is becoming much more safer. Like I go to Bogota, Medellin, Cartagena, and feel safer in many cases than in other places in the world. However, there's still the balance isn't equal of an entrepreneur starting a startup in Medellin or Cartagena or Barranquilla and getting access to a venture capital, as it often happens in the U.S., in Israel, in UK, or even in Germany, right? That's kind of the things that I'm trying to navigate.
So we're here in Orlando, Ricardo. It's ConnectWise IT Nation Secure. What are some of your goals this week?
Well, the MSP market is a community that got close to my heart, right? I think when I started Lumu, remember anti-fraud made the transition into cybersecurity, enterprise security. And we made it in a way that was very deliberated in the sense that we wanted every company to get access to the tools, right? And because of that, a lot of MSPs started using Lumu initially when I launched the business. But I quickly realized that the technology was built for the enterprise market, and the MSP has unique requirements, right? So what I did was to learn about the market, and the acceptance that this community had for the story that I was building, got me closer to them. And we started building a flavor of the technology that is exclusively designed for managed service providers. Wow. Priced the way they like to see the technology, priced the way they model their business, and tackling the problems that traditional enterprise technologies have when they serve this market. So this is my third year in IT Nation. The scale of our business in the MSP market is massive, but it's only the beginning. I'm here communicating to the MSPs the new evolution about the technology. I'm here also, communicating the new threats that the bad guys have in their toolkit for 2025. There is a concept that is growing significantly. It's called EDR evasion. And EDR is probably one of the latest layers that this community started deploying in cybersecurity, right? And now the bad guys have the ability to bypass EDRs at speed.
Wow.
So that is going to create an avalanche of attacks that Lumu is positioned to provide visibility to this market and to the partners that use our technology. We often said, when the threat actor bypasses the defenses, the EDR being one of those defenses,
right?
The firewall being another, and the email security being the other side, the threat actor is going to land in the network. So you have to have visibility in the network. A network that's compromised behaves differently than a network that's not compromised. Right. Lumu helps to identify those signals, and it automates defense, responding to the stack that you have, so that you create a system that can self-defense continuously, right? This concept, and here, Joe, I connect like my aviation passion, my electrical engineering background with a concept that I call the feedback loop, right? Feedback loops, in system, in engineering, a feedback loop, a closed feedback loop is a system that can self-regulate itself, right? Think of the AC of your house, right? It has, as simple as that system is, it has a closed loop system. It means You set up the temperature at some degrees, and the whole system works.
Right.
And at some point, your house is going to be at that temperature, right? Yeah. In cybersecurity, feedback loops don't exist traditionally. So the ideal state in cybersecurity is that your system is not compromised. But there's nothing that is measuring continuously if your system is compromised. For the most part, companies get notified of a breach because of the news. Lumu brings the ability to measure compromise in real time for companies.
Wow.
And when we identify signals of compromise, then we automatically respond to that compromise, neutralizing it by using the stack that you already have.
The term left of boom, right of boom, what does that mean?
Well, left of boom means what you do before the breach, right? Right of boom is, after the breach, so what do you do? Lumu is a technology that helps companies to be as left of boom as possible, to proactively, eliminate that you get into a boom situation, into a breach situation. Now, there are a lot of IR companies, incident response companies, that use Lumu as part of a right of boom engagement.
I see.
Why? Because when there is a compromise, now you need to restore the system to before the breach. In doing so, you have to identify that there are no residual compromises. And what better way to identify if that network that you are in the process of recovering it is showing the right signals. That's kind of the how Lumu applies left or right, of boom.
Ricardo, what has surprised you about working with MSPs?
It surprised me that it's a market that is very sensitive to price, for instance. It surprised me that the MSPs, in a way, I identify a lot with them because they're building a business.
Right.
In a way, they're the underdogs of the industry, right? They have to deliver value with conditions that are completely different than the conditions that enterprises have, right? It surprised me that for some of the tools, the MSP market is an afterthought, right? Like when you go to some of the large vendors, there's no clear intention of solving the problem that MSPs live by every day. There's some vendors that cater specifically to MSPs, but the majority don't. It surprises me the union of the community
Really?
around the MSP. That's something that is impressive. It surprised me the openness, the willingness to share the problems. If the vendor is truly committed to solve the problems. I think, MSP owners are building a business, as I am building a business. I think I have a lot to provide to the community in the sense that, to scale a business to 40 millions, having a $2.8 billion Etsy, and now scaling another business, you have to deal with how do you build proficient sales operation machines, proficient marketing operation machines, product development, customer success. So a piece of that is something that we can translate to the community. As a matter of fact, in the previous IT Connect, the event that happens at the end of the year,
November,
in the November one, we did a training for MSPs on how Lumu handles.
That's right. You had a pre-day.
Yeah. How Lumu handles customer success, how Lumu handles pricing, packaging, and the idea is to disseminate
That's awesome.
that information across the MSP community.
And how'd it go?
It was awesome. I mean, it was well accepted. I think there is a genuine desire from the community to learn about those topics. And it has nothing to do with the product. It has nothing to do with how Lumu solves compromises. It's more about how we make the MSP better, proficient in many aspects, right?
Incredible. So I think I might have told you my story, Ricardo, where I started the MSP back in the 90s. I was working way too hard, putting my health in the back seat. I'm sitting in front of the doctor. I'm at 340 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she says to me, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My daughter was just born.
What's your weight today?
200.
Okay.
195, yeah. So I lost about 120 pounds in about 7 months. And people always ask me how, and I say, like there's some secret. I always say discipline. That's how I lost it. Willpower, focus. How does discipline play a role in your life?
Discipline is deep into the mind of someone that loves aviation, right? But even before aviation, when you are an underdog in a market that is so complex, so competitive, discipline is what helped you to, do the best every day. Discipline is what helped you to, research. I apply discipline in most of the things that I do in my life, right? When I'm in front of a problem, I want to disciplinedly understand the problem, to go steps in the right direction, even when you don't have the right outcome in many cases. But discipline is what keeps you focused. The ability to execute will provide a good outcome. I often made this analogy where discipline applies a lot. If you want to run a marathon, you're not going to run, 28 miles day one.
Right.
But if you run 1 mile every day, if you're disciplined about doing that, one day you're going to be able to run 28 miles. The same is true when you're learning to fly a plane, right? On the first lesson, you may not be able to take off the plane by yourself. But if you keep doing that, you're not only going to be able to do that, but also, enjoy the journey. So discipline is, is part of my life.
It is. And when you were a child in Colombia, was discipline instilled in your family?
My father was a professor. So yeah, the answer is yes. Discipline was. I think my dad used to said to us, look, I didn't have a lot in my life, but the one thing that I have that I think you should have is education and becoming disciplined about learning, understanding problems, solving problems. Have proved to be an essential skill in my life and in the life of my family.
Ricardo, what motivates you?
Solving problems. I'm passionate about cybersecurity. Joe, I think when I see the partners using our technology and providing the feedback, the level of joy that I feel, I cannot describe it, awesome. Right? Steve Jobs often said, if you don't want to work a day, do what you love. And I'm doing what I love. So I have absolutely no issues, giving the extra mile a day because I'm just enjoying what I do. When my team stops attacks, build new features, that helps partners and customers to defend their businesses. And then having them saying the things that they say about Lumu is something that is priceless. Wow. So I love what I'm doing, Joe.
So given that, motivation of solving problems, how do you measure success?
In many ways, right? Well, when you're building a business, there's no doubt that, growing the business is the natural measure of success, right? Lumu is growing 100% year over year and have done so for the last 4 years. The company is young. The company is really young. We have four and a half years in market. And with 4.5 years in market, we have become the leader of the network detection and response space. Wow. When you compare it with companies that have years and years of building the business. So that's one thing. But I think it's how your people feel in your company also. It's how your people belongs to your company is also, to me, it gives me a signal of if we're going to be able to keep growing 100% year over year for the next 5, 10 years and more, right? So, having a group of team, we're 150 people now that is committed, that is passionate around the dream that I'm building is priceless. And then also, the customer retention, it provides you with the ability to measure the value that you're providing to the customer. Customers and partners can buy a technology, but if they don't see value, they're not going to renew that technology. When you retain the customers the way Lumu retains the customers, there's clearly evidence of value that we're providing to them. There are many, many ways, but those are some of the three that came to mind right now.
That's
Joe.
awesome. Ricardo, I've known you for a few years now. I love to see your growth. I love what you do. Anybody listening and watching, how can they get in touch with you?
It's very easy. Lumu, Lumu.io, that's the website. And if you're an MSP, go to lumu.io/MSP, and you're going to see all the flavors that we have for you and how we can help you build and scale your MSP practice.
Lumu. What is the origin of the name, by the way?
Good question. When we were creating Lumu, there was this idea that Lumu illuminates attacks that are hidden in your network. So light become clearly associated with the brand. But when you were trying to get the domain, right, light was already taken.
Yes.
I started translating light to other languages.
Yes.
And when you translate light to Esperanto,
Esperanto,
yeah. The word that comes out is Lumu. Lumu.io, that's our website.
Wow.
And that's the meaning of Lumu.
In Italian, it's luce. In Spanish, luce?
Luz.
Luz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.